journey forward, such as how it is classified as a food desert and economically distressed, and how our development tackles these problems head on and turns them into opportunities. Today, we will be focusing on many of the strengths in the community that we will use as a catalyst to make our development a successful and inclusive one. Our site is right next to a lakefront park home to the Museum of Science and Industry and the coming Obama Library. This new presidential center is projected to bring hundreds of thousands of visitors and new residents to Woodlawn. Our site is well connected by multiple public transportation options, including the Green Line, Metra, and bus routes. There is a lot of vacant land in the community, and our site that is waiting to be transformed for greater use. This great potential brings fear of gentrification along with it, as voiced by many in the community. Longtime residents are not against gentrification for the reason they do not want to see their community improve, but rather against it for the fear that they will be priced out. People need high-paying jobs and more community amenities, but do not deserve to be displaced due to the coming growth. We also need to give young people a reason to stay, as the population has been declining in Woodlawn since the 60s. This needs to be a sustainable and equitable development. Our vision for this site, Hope Shores, accomplishes just that.
Our site will be home to 4 newly constructed buildings by 2025, built to match the existing brick veneer architectural style found in the greater Woodlawn area. In total, the site will have over 439,000 rentable square feet. The street level experience will be improved with the addition of a bike path running all the way to Jackson Park, upgrading the existing bus shelters, and an increased number of street lamps to improve visibility and safety of the community. South Blackstone Avenue will be resurfaced to accommodate more traffic, and a TIF zone will need to be extended to Stony Island Avenue to accommodate these street improvements. On the buildings to be constructed, either green roofs or solar panels will be installed to encourage a net energy positive development. Our goal in creating Hope Shores is to maximize the use of the site for the community by bringing everything visitors and residents would need into one place. Imagine walking south on Stony Avenue after a beautiful afternoon at the Obama Presidential Center. When arriving on the site, the visitors will first encounter our food court on the first level of Parcel A to grab a bite to eat and can connect with the residents of that building, or they can head across the street to Parcel D, where we've allowed for space for the entrepreneurs of Southern Chicago to park food trucks and pop-up shops. After grabbing something to eat, these visitors can check into the hotel on Parcel C, and then on the way out of the hotel, they can browse the businesses on the first floor or head across the street to Parcel D to shop at the retailer there. Parcel E will be home to our tech center, creating a pathway for individuals from the south side of Chicago to establish a successful career in construction. So at the end of this evening, residents from Parcels A and Parcels D, hotel guests from C, apprentices for Parcel E, and members of the surrounding community can congregate at the new Peck Amphitheater for a concert or other event highlighting local talent.
For Hope Shores, we're proposing a new plan development to contain all 5 of the parcels on the site and doing away with the existing business and residential zoning. However, the current zoning is already in our favor, and our developments line up with the intended uses for all the parcels. We envisioned our site this way to mitigate risk in case the planned development is not approved. So on Parcel D for the field or building, we will be targeting a high credit tenant like TJ Maxx or Marshalls on the base floor. Shoppers will be within walking distance to the other experiences and retail and food options that Hope Shores has to offer. We're proposing for most of this building, though, to house affordable units for seniors. When we visited Woodlawn, we saw elderly folk on the street, and we do not want to see this in the future. Seniors rely on a fixed income as part of retirement. Many in this community will not be able to afford the rising rents in the coming years. 20% of the population in Woodlawn is above 55 years of age, and macro trends from the 2020 US Census show that that percentage of the population will continue to grow by 8% each year for the next 5 years. Our new construction training center on Parcel E will be named after the architects of the World Fair in 1893 and dedicated to the contractors that make architects' visions a reality. With rising construction costs, little African-American representation in Chicago construction unions, and the lack of viable career options for the youth, this new tech center would help solve a lot of these problems. 60% of Woodlawn's population does not have a bachelor's degree, and a career in construction does not require a bachelor's degree, just an apprenticeship. This tech center could host a pre-apprenticeship program funded with a grant through the Department of Labor, TIF funds, and a small loan. A donation would help offset construction costs. This program would feed apprentices into multiple unions in the Chicago area, and these unions themselves can rent out the space for themselves for their own training program for their apprentices. There's a high school to the south called Chicago Vocational High School, CVS, that gives students training in hands-on career. However, this tech center could train for skills not offered by schools in the area, like for electricians or for trades that support the coming green, solar, and wind energy construction boom. Naomi Davis, founder of Chicago-based Blacks and Greens, pointed out in an interview in the past that Blacks make up 15.3% of Illinoisans, but 96.5% of solar jobs are not held by African Americans. Students from Hyde Park and Mount Carmel would be given priority entrance, but this program should be open to any high schooler or recent grad on the South Side. The University of Chicago or community colleges can sponsor this center to help run it and receive the DOL grant. This tech center would also have space for arts programs and IT programs for Hyde Park and Mount Carmel. I myself am a graduate of a pre-apprenticeship program similar in nature, but targeted towards manufacturing trades along with construction, called Michigan Apprenticeship Program Plus, or MAP Plus. I thank my father last presentation, and of course I'm going to thank him again here because I wouldn't be where I'm at without him. He drove me 45 minutes each way through Detroit every day a few summers back to get me to this program. Not everyone has a father that is able to do this. The great thing about this site is its transit-oriented nature and how students and apprentices would be able to get themselves to the tech center through public transport.
Thank you, Faik. Looking at parcel A here, we'll be hosting the Ida B. Wells building. Now, this space is such a unique opportunity. We wanted to envision a way to create effective economic benefit for Woodlawn without forgetting our investors' interest. We propose selling these housing units back to the tenants organized under a limited equity cooperative housing corporation in partnership with any interested local nonprofits. We'll assist the tenants in improving their credit to obtain that blanket mortgage with a contingency of ensuring that the building is limited equity, which means that the resale value of ownership shares is capped at 6% growth each year, attempting to prevent market forces from inflating the cost of housing. This contract has significant risk-sharing benefits for both the lenders and the tenants because the lenders do not have to run the building. The cooperative pretty much takes care of that for them. And the tenants get a living arrangement that is stable and not dissimilar from home ownership. The greatest investment they get is the equity that they have in the building that they can take with them when they leave. Ideally, our residents move from here to home ownership in the Woodlawn area. And our residents will be positioned for success with access to the green space in the back and amenities that are available over on parcel C. We opted to call this the Michelle Obama building because of her life mission for youth health that's reflected in the businesses that operate here. We will demolish the existing strip mall to build a new space for the previous tenants on the bottom floor with extra space for a small grocer that displays local art. Previous tenants will get to stay on the ground floor of parcel D in the meantime, and on the upper floors, there's going to be a boutique hotel. It's our opinion that the Obama Center with Hope Shores will be a landmark on the corner of 63rd and Stony that will create the demand necessary for hotel success given the limited options in the area at the moment. We envision this hotel as a gateway for guests of Woodlawn to come and see the nightlife, experience the neighborhood, and maybe eventually stay for good. From balconies in the hotel, guests can view community events hosted in the Peck Amphitheater across the street over on Parcel B. Parcel B is home to the YMCA, and we consider the YMCA a highly reputable nonprofit. In partnership, our residents next door will fully utilize the currently underutilized YMCA facilities. Over there in the West Yard, the Peck Amphitheater is the heart, soul, and gathering place in the center of this community. Here, the YMCA can host community events or rent out the space to artists. There will be public bathrooms available on the inside, and utility lines can be pulled to the north lot for local entrepreneurs. For even greater engagement, we propose the YMCA also joins us in regards to the tech center to break into the school system and to increase awareness of the construction career path for the youth of this community. Hope Shores is designed to be a space that grows with the community as an organic living space. Set across from the Obama Center and Jackson Park, this central space is where parcels A, C, and D come together as something a whole lot more than just the sum of its parts. This is what we intend for Hope Shores in the context of Woodlawn and the future of Chicago.
Now moving on to our development plan, we presented the vision of our parcels in the order that we hope to construct them. Our reasoning for this order is to get the tenants required to anchor the development first, then build supporting amenities and training facilities, and then finally building the hotel that supports the visitors that will come with the opening of the Obama Center. For marketing and sustainability, one of our main marketing strategies that we will be using is to make sure that we hire contractors and brokers that are already in the community for our project. With these being mostly minority-owned businesses, we hope to get buy-in from the community for the development. We believe networking with groups such as the Chicago Emerging Minority Developer Initiative will allow us to connect with these brokers and contractors. And now, especially coming out of a pandemic, minority contractors need an opportunity to get experience and to ultimately build a portfolio in order for them to chase work. Hope Shores will provide this opportunity. For sustainability, we are targeting LEED neighborhood designation and individual LEED and WELL designations for our residential buildings and the tech center. And in addition, we suggest that the city provide property tax relief for longtime homeowners to prevent displacement and to repurpose the Woodlawn TIF to support single-family housing.
Appreciate it, Riley. And as everybody in this room understands, anybody can underwrite a development to make the numbers look good if you have high enough rents. But what we wanted to do was ensure that our rent assumptions were realistic for the area. So we looked at comparable properties. For hospitality, we looked at some 4-star hotels to the north of the site and the coming expected rates at the study hotel that the University of Chicago is building. For commercial, we wanted to point out that for the existing tenants on Parcel C, we want to be sure to retain and empower them and keep rates reasonable at $21 per net rentable square foot annually. For residential, we also looked at market rates, and to compute our affordable rates, which would be the efficiency and the senior here, we looked at the area median income. Of course, to have this development done, we had to consider our construction costs, which we broke down by parcel and by phase of the development with the conclusion shown here. So you can see for hard costs, we factored in the record high commodity prices, especially lumber right now, to get to $207 per net rentable square foot, also factoring in an additional 2% hard and soft cost contingency and tenant improvements. The project as a whole is going to come in at about $120 million. To finance this project, we propose a relatively conservative capital stack targeting a 65% loan to cost lending. You'll note our capital stack here calls for a little over $119 million. That's after several small grants that we expect to come through. Now, for limited partners, they vary by parcel, but in total, there'll be about 87% of the equity will be from limited partners. And you can see here, we're proposing a joint venture with DL3, and I'm glad to see they have their best and brightest here today. That would be for Parcel C. And then our group, Horizon Development, would have the remaining 8.5% of equity there. For project returns, so we want this project to be equitable and inclusive, but also to drive returns home for the investors. We've broken down returns into the general partner, limited partner, and the project level. You can see this is a fairly attractive proposal here, 20% IRR, not too bad, with an equity multiple of 1.9 times. And it's worth noting that each parcel on its own is pretty financially sound here. All of them have an IRR of at least 11%. We wanted to also factor in 2 of our greatest value drivers and that risk that presents with the assumptions here. So that would be the NOI growth rate. So we worked from 2 to 3% here on our sensitivity analysis, and also our exit cap, which does vary by parcel. On the low end, we've got 14% internal rate of return, exceeding a reasonable hurdle rate. On the high side, above 26%. I know I speak for everyone on our team. We are absolutely blown away that some of the top leaders in development of Chicago would come in on a Saturday. And I know there's been a lot of presentations today, and not only connect with us, but also allow us to present our vision for this site. And it was noted earlier today that this will be a project that comes to pass. So to have an impact on that is incredible. We also need to thank everyone that made our proposal possible, which includes our mentors, professional resources, and of course, our faculty here at Ferris State. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferris State University, for that great presentation. We'll now move on to 10 minutes of question and answer, which is extendable by 5 minutes if the judges have not finished their line of questioning. Please, I want to note to the panelists and the judges to keep questions brief and answers brief so we can get as many out of this time as possible.
I just had 2 quick questions. One, looking at the amphitheater, and then also the proximity to the train line as well. Did you think that there would be a concern of the amphitheater the noise from the amphitheater to the surrounding neighbors, that being one. And then two, I think your senior residential location, it was near the train line, I believe. Did you also see that as a concern? So you have the amphitheater as well as the train to the senior side, as well as any other residents around the development.
Yeah, thank you, Clarence. That is a good question. And that's something we thought about right when we dove into this case. We were like, that's great that there's the transportation right there, but we also have to think about if you're living there, you know, nobody wants to live right by the train station or, you know, right by the airport, for instance. So part of what we plan to do with the building there is implement noise reduction strategies and how the building is constructed. And then as far as the amphitheater goes, we understand there could potentially be some noise complaints from the neighborhood, but really with the emphasis of utilizing local talent here, we think that the neighborhood's going to want to hear from the people that come from Woodlawn, especially if it's an opportunity for the high schools in the area that have both expressed interest in having a place to showcase talent. So we would definitely be seeking to work with the community to ensure it's a project that they want.
I have a question for you, and it leads right into, first of all, I really like the presentation. A lot of thought and work has gone into this, so thank you very much. But I also wanted to ask you concerning transportation and how to get people to and fro, and whether that transportation is just how you look at transportation and people coming to and leaving the site.
I'm sorry, half of your question got cut off. I'm not sure if anyone else was able to catch the entire question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was asking concerning transportation. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on your plans relative to transportation, be it public transportation. You have a parking garage, but I wanted to know what your thoughts were and how you looked at comprehensive transportation to the site.
Right, so being that this is a transit-oriented development, we're able to reduce the amount of parking slots that we need for our site. But looking at the previous plan development documents, we took into account how many minimum parking slots are going to be required. Now, being that this is a TOD, there's the CTA Green Line about 0.9 miles to the west. There's the Metro line that's literally right next to our site under the underpass. And there's also a bus stop that exits right in front of the YMCA. So, you know, there's multiple ways that people can get to our site, and we want them to come to our site using public transportation.
And to add on to that fact, I know another goal, we wanted this site to be walkable and also connect into the existing bike path that Chicago has. I mean, the bike path along the lake is just absolutely incredible. And it's right next to the site. So we want to tap into that. And that's been a macro trend, especially since the pandemic has hit, with cities placing a larger emphasis on bike paths because they really are, you know, aside from biking being nice, a great solution to transportation.
Yeah. Speaking of the bike path, when I went down to Woodlawn, I noticed there were, you know, you can tell very easily who's from Woodlawn and who's not. You know, right when Jared got off the bus stop, there was this dude on the street, there's a gentleman, he's like, "Oh, you're not from this area, are you?" I never got that comment towards me, but I know my other team members did. But, you know, these people, they're coming in from the northern communities on the lakefront path, and we see them coming in and mixing and coming to our site through the lake path. So with the addition of the bike path, you know, we think that we can bring together people from different communities and allow them to come to our park, you know, our site, Jackson Park, visit the Obama Center, you know, visit our site and check out our parcels.
Thank you.
I like your presentation, and I'm looking at your site plan, and I see a lot of open space. Do you think that you were very conservative in the amount of retail space and the overall density? Is that something that was planned in order to mix with the community?
Yeah, so we looked at the existing zoning and the limits of the FAR, and we built to the limits that were, you know, to those limits. Now, I know I said that we're proposing a new plan development, But if this plan development does not get approved, then we can just continue going with the FAR that we have right now. And to be honest, with such an extraordinary park such as Jackson Park right next door to our site, with golf courses and multiple amenities and a walking path, we think that the community already has enough green space, to get their needs met. We wanted to retain the big green central lot in the YMCA for people to walk through and to be like a central gathering space for our site.
Yeah.
And the wide, go ahead, Jared.
No, it's all you, Riley.
Oh yeah, and the Y they do summer camps and stuff like that, and they also have that track that's right there by the amphitheater. So we do want them to have as much green space as possible to put on these events, and we don't want to take away from the ability of them to be able to do that. So I think we took that into consideration as well.
Right, and these events, the money that's generated from these events, a portion of those will be given back to the YMCA, because they're so generous in giving up a small part of their site to build this gathering space. But, we just wanted to meet the needs of all the stakeholders in our projects.
Well, go ahead. Okay.
Clarence, you're up.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for, I'm sure none of you have an architecture background. So I think I want to thank you for putting this plan together and thinking about how all of these parts relate to each other. And I also wanted to say that I really enjoyed the presentation and making a point of trying to make it very relatable in terms of like being on the site and enjoying the experience. I think that for me, it was also sort of like thinking about the vision of the sort of like jobs creation and sort of like a little bit of how maybe that is something that you could see perhaps being more of a taking center stage. I think I was very impacted by your research in terms of how do you attract younger people, because the existing demography is of older generation, and then making to walkable community aspect, sort of making it allowing people to stay in Woodlawn and work in Woodlawn and live in Woodlawn. So I guess perhaps it's more of a comment than a question, but if I had to make it a question, it's sort of how do you see the job creation aspect, sort of the potential for growth?
Right. Thank you for your gracious comments. And we actually do have a student with an architecture background on our team, Samantha Lund. She did a great job modeling in SketchUp, our vision for the site that we gave her. In terms of job creation, we wanted to give the young people of Woodlawn a reason to stay. They've been leaving for the last 53 years. And with the addition of a new pre-apprenticeship tech center, these students, they wouldn't need to take on student debt or go to college to, make a viable career that makes a good amount of money, 50,000, 60,000, in these trades such as solar technicians or electricians. The program that I graduated from, MAP Plus, I called up my program coordinator and I asked her a few questions about, how many students were able to go through this program using that grant. So that grant was supplied through the DOL, which the community college applied for. And MAP Plus was able to get, close to 400 people through their program in 5 or 6 years. And they're not called semesters in each of these programs, they're called cohorts. And the cohort that I was part of had about 20 kids. So if you do multiple cohorts each year and, send them through this program, they're primed with the skills to enter the job market to enter into unions. The unions will have no reason to not accept them if they have the base knowledge, and also these pre-apprenticeship programs, there's not too many of them. So in order to create awareness in the communities that they're in, the pre-apprenticeship programs, they have someone dedicated to outreach to the local high schools in order to market the program, to build, to bring students into that program.
Yeah.
So, we just hope to create something that creates jobs and gets more.
And just before because we're getting ready to sign off, I want to say thank you guys for the presentation. And I really appreciate your focus and attention to development economics. That's an important piece of the puzzle. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you.
All right, Ferris State University, thank you for that insightful presentation. We will now move to our next and final presentation room. So judges, please check your Zoom schedule, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
I believe we actually have a break after this. So judges, we'll see you after our short break.
Great.
Thank you,
all
everyone.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Ferris State. Good presentation. Thank you.